Hey everyone, welcome to the Freshly Squeezed podcast. I'm here with my buddy Pratik. We're going to be jumping into the last couple of Raptors games we've had in the last few days here. So we had a nice back-to-back, big win over Milwaukee yesterday. Obviously there was no Giannis. Raptors were missing a couple key players. We were missing Lowry, Van Vliet, Ibaka. And then a big game against the Grizzlies. That was it seemed like we had it in the books, and then it got a little close to the end there, a little
Easy
close
there,
for
yeah.
comfort. So overall, we came out with two dubs from this weekend. What are your thoughts? Either game, what game meant more to you here? Obviously, it was two big wins. So any big takeaways you thought from those two games?
The biggest takeaways were, for me at least, it's just the two play styles again, right? With Memphis, we didn't play the same whole perimeter shooting battle that we have to do with Milwaukee, with guys
Yep.
like George Hill, Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, like it. So that's why I think that the Milwaukee game was a bigger takeaway because it's what we made up for that we didn't do against the Celtics. So with the
Yes.
Celtics, everybody talked about our three-point shooting, and the bench mob really came to play, man. Like these guys played like real starters against the Milwaukee Bucks.
And so, how much do you think that game meant with the Bucks? Because obviously Giannis wasn't there, like I said. A bunch of key players for the Raptors weren't there. Like, do you think you think it was a bigger game than the Memphis one? Like, what? Why is that? So I see no Giannis there, and I kind of think like I don't really put too much on it because I feel like they're a completely different team. But I could
Right.
also hear the argument that this proves that the Raptors have better depth. Um, when Giannis isn't on the floor,
hmm
what are we doing? Our guys are performing. I think we definitely have a lot more depth, and our guys can operate without the key players. We can run an offense, right? Like
Yeah.
that Milwaukee offense is so reliant on Giannis. If
hmm
he's not there, I think we kind of saw what it showed. So I see both sides of the argument. So I think you're leaning towards that side that it did matter. Like it did prove something, right?
It did prove something, and the reason I stand by that is just because obviously, yeah, Giannis not being part of the game is a massive impact. I mean, if we're talking about any other team, like he is my favorite player apart
Yeah.
from everybody on the Raptors, right? But like,
Uh,
yeah. Um, you can't say that Lowry and Serge and Van Vliet didn't leave just as big of a hole on our team. Like, they play a
so
pretty
that's
vital
that's
role.
where we notice the difference, and that's why
Yeah.
we outperform them. Is because the deeper we go on our bench, we can have guys initiate the offense, right? Where
hmm
they're built around Giannis driving and dishing.
Yeah.
We have lots of playmakers. Like we saw, and we'll jump right into the
Exactly.
player analysis, right? Like Matt Thomas, 37
Oh,
minutes last
buddy.
night, 37 minutes, 9 for 17 from the field, 22 points, lit it up yesterday. Like
Disgusting.
they, it doesn't seem like they have that guy that goes. They don't have a lot of deep playmakers, right?
Yeah.
Um, they got Bledsoe and Middleton, but in terms of
Yeah, they
guys
got
like,
Bledsoe, Middleton, exactly, like George Hill, and they're not making up their own plays. They're just being at the right place at the right time.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, with our team, obviously you saw like even though Siakam is going to be the main man, he was not the only one playing point. Everyone was playing point at different times of the game, and you can see that just by the assist numbers. Like it's pretty well diverse.
yeah, and
Um,
that's the unselfish basketball we play. Like Raptors,
exactly.
it's just you see Bleacher Report posting highlights of us feeding the ball around 10 times in a matter of like 10 seconds, right? Like we're
hmm
just moving the ball, constant ball movement, and it can run around anyone. So obviously, missing those guys was a key factor for us. Like we didn't have Lowry and Van Vliet, but to see guys like Matt Thomas step up, Chris Boucher being able to step
hmm
up without the presence of Surge, that was a really interesting one. I didn't
Yeah.
expect Chris to pop off like that. I know he's had
Yeah.
his moments, but he might be one of the most fearless guys on our roster. Like in
I
terms
agree.
of when I saw him come up from the G League and when he was kind of trying to find a spot on the team for himself,
hmm
I was shocked at how brash this guy was because he's fighting for a spot on the team. You'd think like you see these guys come up and they're all about team basketball and just trying to they're not trying to make a point really, right? They're just trying
Mm-hmm.
to either they're jacking up stupid shots like off the dribble, like step backs, or they're just kind of playing within the offense, passing it off, being kind of passive. Chris
Mm-hmm.
Boucher was hitting spot up three after spot up three, like absolutely fearless. Doesn't really. It seems like he plays without a care in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's props to him. I'm really excited we have him on our team. He's a good guy for if one of our bigs isn't available like last night.
Exactly.
He's a
Yeah.
great guy
With
to
the with
have.
a you know with a double night like that, 2 blocks, like
Hmm.
60% efficiency. Yeah, that's some big numbers. And obviously, it's great that he's a big man and popping off threes, but come on, we can't even forget that slam dunk, man. It was ridiculous. It was on two
That poster
Milwaukee
was
guys.
insane.
Yeah, that poster was insane. You just saw his face. This guy just ran through like a freight train.
And what he
And
does for us on the defensive end, he's like a
yeah,
best. He's a rim protector, right? There's
he is
just
a rim protector. Yeah.
unreal bounce, super long,
Hmm.
and it's a great backup for Serge. Obviously, I think
Yeah,
I would rather have Serge in that spot. I think he's going to be a little more consistent, especially on the offensive end, and
for sure.
he's a veteran presence. But coming into playoffs, it's going to be good to see Boucher. I think he's going to sneak in some
Hmm.
sneaky important minutes, right?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
100%. And you know what though? With him sneaking his minutes in, you got to hand it to Nurse for allowing things like this. Like, obviously, you look at Milwaukee's game yesterday. As soon as he stopped Matt Thomas start dropping those threes, he's like, this kid is gonna get all the minutes today. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna use today to make sure I can turn him into, whatever my objective is or whatever his objective may be.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like these bench players are going to be playoff ready too. That's what they did last year, and you
Yep.
saw how those guys improved this year. The bench players last year are the starters this year.
Yes,
So
sir. Well, let's
yeah, man,
another bench player. Let's give some more credit while we're going around here. Norman
let's go.
Powell, right?
Norman
Let's
Powell,
keep
buddy.
this train
Yes,
rolling, baby.
yeah,
No
man.
Stormin Norman, playoff Powell. I'm so excited for this guy, man. He's
Holy,
we talked about him in previous episodes, but he's a guy who has been super inconsistent for us over the past years, but he's really found his groove with Nick Nurse
hmm,
last year and especially this year. This has been a kind of a comeback tour, comeback season.
yeah,
He stepped up in a huge role for us. I feel like Terrence Davis coming to the team and showing out as a rookie has really kind of
hmm,
driven Norm, right? Like he got his competitive juices flowing a little
yeah,
bit. He saw when Norm was out injured for a little bit. Norm started balling extra hard, or no, sorry, Terrence Davis started balling extra hard when Norm
yeah,
was out, and so I think that's just got his juices flowing a little bit, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
These
it's
guys got an awesome, awesome like competitive spirit. Like that's probably the greatest thing about the Raptors. You won't
yeah.
find any hate between the players. They're just out to help each other, man, and win. So you see how
But
it translates. Well, who I did want to see play better was Stanley Johnson, but we can talk about him another time.
he's a guy who we hope
Yeah,
would play better all season long, right? But it
yeah,
doesn't look like that's really going to come to fruition at this
it's
point.
okay. Yeah,
He's in the double digits of our rosters. He's 10th
hmm,
below, man. Um, we don't go. He's kind of going to be like our Jeremy Lin last year. Like
I
he might get a
know.
couple of garbage minutes, but I don't see him. I don't see him playing any real minutes.
Oh,
But man, yeah, I'm super excited for Norm. That was a big takeaway. Marcus Gasol, 0 points, 8 assists. Like you said, he was setting up Matt Thomas for a lot of plays.
hmm,
Um, but again, like I would really like to see Mark be a little more aggressive, right? Only four
right.
shot attempts. I'm not sure if that's something Nick kind of spoke to him about. I don't feel that it is. I feel that Nick kind of lets his guys flow, and if they want to, like,
Hmm,
if a guy like Mark wants to be aggressive and take more shots,
hmm,
I don't think Nick Nurse is gonna have a problem with that. Maybe he
definitely
wanted to
not.
get his other
Yeah,
guys flowing, but I still want to see him get more aggressive with his shot. And what do you think about that?
I agree. I agree. Like it works the same way with even our starter players. Like a lot of them didn't play as good, but you still gotta allow them to take their shots because there's no other way to learn. We had Siakam going 5 of 16 last night, but
Yeah.
even though he may be our starting player, you still gotta give those guys that exposure. Otherwise, you're never gonna see growth in your team. I
Yeah.
think I think it works with like this is just my example or comparison, but if you look at the Lakers and you see Kyle Kuzma, finally the man made a clutch three, you know? But he can do that. He can do that. Why isn't he given the opportunity to do that more often? And now that LeBron doesn't have a facilitator like Rondo anymore, what is he doing? Oh, they have to make up all of a sudden. But Raptors don't work like that. They're ready to make up for everybody all the time. That's why I think like that's why the Raptors are so deep, you know?
It's that next man up mentality,
Yeah,
and
the
I
next
think you
man
see
up.
it in a lot of teams like Golden State. No better team than Golden State
Oh,
showed that
from the
mentality through
ground
their whole
up,
run.
yeah,
Their entire championship run, it was always next man up. They
was.
had issues the whole way,
Hmm.
but they had guys fill up their spots. If one guy wasn't ready, okay, next man up. So I
Hmm.
agree.
Hmm.
That's a huge positive for the team, especially
Yeah.
if there's a lot of injuries going on. Um, and like going into playoffs, it's a tight 8-man roster. So if anyone goes
Hmm.
down, that'll be key for us. You're right, absolutely. And it was good to see those guys get those minutes.
Exactly.
So let's
So
go to the Memphis game. Any takeaways
yeah,
from the Memphis
let's.
game? We had uh, Norm was another standout from there, going off from that. But I think the main story for me was the Pascal Siakam answered our
Hmm.
criticisms from that Boston
Yes,
game,
he
right?
has been.
And we kind of mentioned like he hasn't been stepping up as a scorer and a playmaker as he should. He looks like he's still getting back into the flow of things.
Hmm.
But that Memphis game, I was absolutely amazed. He looked like Pascal Siakam out there. He looked like an all-star,
Hmm.
hitting two clutch threes at the end. When I
Yes,
mentioned earlier,
sir.
it was getting close. We were starting to sweat a little bit from Memphis. They were catching on. I was like, it's getting a little too close. Pascal Siakam steps up, hits two clutch threes, and I think that's the best part of his game right now. I think even yesterday with Milwaukee, he hit three threes, right? But
Hmm.
he seems like he's loving that three ball. I don't know if it's at the detriment of him getting to the rim and making those plays, and I don't know if maybe he's fallen a little in love with his shot, but he's hitting
Hmm.
threes. He's becoming a very good 3-point shooter. I love to see that. It's just the rest of it I want to see come along now.
Dude, 100% agree with you. So just to add to what you're saying, like if you take if you look at Siakam's breakdown of, you know, dimes versus his trays, I just think that he has more trouble defensively speaking when he's hitting the post now with the
Yeah,
random double teams and because our team is very good at setting up threes. So a
yeah.
lot of them are open and not contested. And it's so good that he's nailing those because he has to nail those. But it's the post play. So like, you know, just the question that you were asking, do you think that his 3-point plays are kind of overshining and underplaying his post play? But I don't think so. I think that it's
Well,
just
it's
that he's
more
defensively
it's my
getting
worry that he falls in love with his shot too much. Like you see that with
right.
guys
Yeah,
sometimes and with big
you
men.
do.
Prime
Uh-huh.
example we brought up last episode, Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid,
You
yes.
you t- you take him out of the post, he becomes a 3-point shooter. We're happy with that all
We're
day.
happy. Yeah.
So that's more my worry. I think
Hmm.
is that he's falling in love with his shot a little bit too much. And I know, like yesterday, he only took four. He took six against the Grizzlies.
Hmm.
Um, so sorry. I'll let you. I cut you off there. I'll let you keep going.
No, no,
But
it's
no,
all
that's
good.
right.
It's all good. I pretty much finished my point, but you know, I just think that I think once the team is obviously fully healthy, we have everyone playing. Because right now they're kind of playing a choppy play style. They're jumping from uh, making accommodations for resting players and also trying to give other players more minutes when it's not an important game. And
Yep.
right now we don't have an issue with seeding. So right now Nick Nurse is just playing around. I think he's really trying to make the most of his players' improvement and have them ready for playoffs because we got some. You know, we're going to talk about that already. The Brooklyn matchup that's already set up, and even the potential other
It's
teams that we're
set,
gonna face down
baby.
the road. You
We're
know,
we're
it's set.
playing
Yeah.
Brooklyn, man. I'm so excited for that. That's great news. I think in the first pod, our first
Yeah.
pod, we brought it up. That's like that was it hasn't really moved around too much, but now it's confirmed.
Hmm.
We're gonna come to you guys with another pod about that.
Yes,
But
sir.
that's exciting, man. And like you said, it's great that we already have our seeding set. We're the 2 seed. We're not dropping below that. We know who we're playing for that against in the first round. And now we can start to really prepare for playoffs. Nick Nurse can have a little more fun with his schemes. In the last 2 games, we're playing Philly tomorrow, we're playing Denver on Friday, and that's it. Then we're jumping into the playoffs. So I'm really excited to see, kind of as a preview for playoffs, what Nick Nurse pulls out of his bag against Philly. I'm not too concerned about the result in these games, to be honest, because I expect Nick Nurse to experiment and have some fun with his guys. Obviously, it's still going to be competitive against a team like Philly. Obviously, no Ben Simmons; he's out for the season, so it's not a huge game. I don't foresee us meeting them in the playoffs. It's a possible second round matchup. Something happens against Boston. If it's Boston Philly, it's a possible second. But I don't foresee that. But I'll leave it at that.
Honestly, I just want to mention that I drafted Joel Embiid this year for fantasy, and I liked him. I always did like him, and after this year, I despise him so much. I want him to prove me wrong. Like, please, man, beat the Celtics. Tell me you could do it without Simmons. Tell me you're a one-man show.
Man, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I actually like Boston. I like Tatum and the boys.
I love Boston.
I want
Boston to win.
And I think it's the harder matchup, and I want it. I want that matchup just because we haven't seen it. But like you said, if Embiid pulls it out, I'm down to see some prime Embiid. I'm down to see Embiid feast because he's a stud when he plays. But we'll see. If you remember, we'll see if he wants it. If he wants to be the best player in the game, if he wants to be the best player in the game, he'll come and get it. So
I guess so.
We'll see how that works out.
Maybe he'll watch some Dragon Ball Z before he comes.
Turn Super Saiyan.
Maybe not watch Kawhi drop his shot instead.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. We got the matchups coming up this week, so we'll come at you with some analysis after those games. We're getting close to playoffs fatigue, so we'll see everyone there. We'll see you guys there.
That's right. Get your bets ready. Get your popcorn ready. Watch the Raptors get pretty far, if not the furthest.
The furthest, yeah.
Yeah, the furthest, yeah. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in as always. Follow our Instagram. Check out our videos coming soon. We're going to talk about the playoffs. We're going to talk about... We have specific segments coming. Obviously, we've been covering games, but we want to talk about more specific playoff matchups. We have an Instagram challenge coming with playoff seeding, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else left, Christian?
No, that's it. We'll sign off. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in for another Freshly Squeezed pod. Give us a like, comment, subscribe for more videos. We're going to be coming out with a lot more content for NBA, the rest of the bubble season and playoffs. And make sure to follow us on Freshly Squeezed Sports on our Instagram handle. Talk to you all later.